I am sick and tired of people wasting all of their credit card points on garbage transfer partners. People will redeem things for bad transfer partners like IHG, and it's driving me nuts. We're going to talk about it today. My name is Sean, and I'm here with my co-host.
Hi everyone, I'm Sherwin, the other half of the Credit Card BS podcast. Today's episode, avoid these transfer partners. Let's just jump right into it, starting with hotels. Okay, Sean and my take is basically almost every hotel partner is garbage. Would you like to elaborate, Sean?
Yeah, it's a shame. So starting with one of the more famous ones is Marriott. So Marriott, you can transfer from Chase, American Express, or Bilt, all at a 1-to-1 ratio, and it's garbage. It's trash. You can buy Marriott points cheaper than 1 cent per point, meaning you're basically just lighting money on fire if you transfer credit card points into Marriott. Marriott has very bad redemption rates across the board. It's a shame. A lot of people do it. Across all these hotel partners, we're just really going to see nothing that amazing. Now, the exception, of course, mainly being Hyatt. Hyatt from Chase is the one amazing hotel transfer partner. But the rest of these, I mean, to be honest, they are just not very good.
Can I just say one thing? The Marriott transfer really, really annoys me because people are like, oh, I'm earning these credit card points that are free rebates. These are, so I'm getting free stuff anyway. It doesn't matter if I transfer to Marriott. I'm getting free stays at Marriott that I otherwise wouldn't get if I didn't transfer to Marriott. And I just think that's the wrong way to think about it, because once those points hit your account, whether they're a sign-up bonus, whether from spending, they have intrinsic value to them that you're giving up by making a bad, decision. It's kind of like saying, oh, I earned a bonus, from my work that is separate from my salary, so I can spend it, in less than optimal ways because it's additional. It's not part of my normal income or my normal spend or whatever, right? It's just, no, I think that's the wrong logic. Once you got points, you kind of don't want to have, or I frankly think you're dividing the the value of your points by 4 by transferring to Marriott, and it's just not a good move at all.
Yeah, it's gotten especially worse over the past few years, where all the luxury redemptions are just so expensive. So another bad partner, and this is even worse than Marriott, if you can believe that, is IHG. IHG you can transfer from Chase or Bilt, and this is particularly bad. What's funny is that IHG points, arguably, to some degree, can be even more valuable than Marriott points. But why is it a worse transfer deal? Because IHG points, you can regularly buy them on sale for half a cent per piece, which is much cheaper than Marriott. IHG points are a great deal to buy on sale. They're one of the best currencies to buy on sale at half a cent per piece. But because you can buy it so cheap, it would just make more sense to cash out your points at 1 cent per point and then use that money to buy IHG points. I don't advise doing that, but that would be twice as good as transferring them 1-to-1, because you can buy them at half the price you could just sell your normal points for, which is a shame. IHG is actually a very good partner, or very good chain for redeeming points if you have earned IHG points within its program or bottom within its program, but it's just horrifically bad value to transfer any points into it.
I completely agree, y'all. Please stop falling for the IHG transfer bonuses. Okay, they are bait. They do not provide any value to you. We're seeing sometimes Chase will run 20 or 60% transfer bonus. So now instead of 1-to-1, it's 1 to 1.6. Or Bilt had a IHG transfer bonus. No, just ignore them. Okay, it's not going to give you, even with that additional percentage, you're still coming out way behind compared to transferring to Hyatt, for example.
Totally agree. The next one is Hilton, with which you can transfer from American Express. Now, this one isn't as bad. This is a transfer rate of 1 Amex point to 2 Hilton points. Now, this is already bad because you can buy Hilton points at half a cent each, so you're not really getting an extra value there compared to transferring. What makes it sometimes okay is that Amex will have transfer bonuses to Hilton. So it might be 1 to 2.6 points, 1 to 2.8 points, or the best I think we've ever seen is 1 to 3 points to Hilton. That can make it potentially interesting if you're doing super, super aspirational redemptions. But unless you're staying at Waldorf Cabo, Conrad Bora Bora, Waldorf Maldives, Hilton points are pretty trash. So transferring your points into it is just going to net you really, really bad value there's very few good Hilton redemptions.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do agree. I think if you need Hilton points, the move is probably to open like the Hilton co-branded cards or like buy them on sale. Transfer. I think the only reason I'd ever do the 1 to 2 Amex transfer is if like I'm doing like a big high value redemption and I'm really close to that redemption. I just need to top up a couple thousand points. I think maybe that's fine, but otherwise, it doesn't really make sense.
Totally agree. Yeah, 100%. The next one is Choice hotels. Now, one bank, it's actually a decent deal to transfer to Choice, and another one's garbage. So if you're transferring from Amex, it's only a 1-to-1 ratio. Garbage. Flat garbage. You're burning money again. You can buy Choice points cheaper than just by selling your Amex points, so don't do that. Citi transfers at a rate of 1 Citi point to 2 Choice points. So that's actually not bad. That actually can be pretty good value depending on the redemption. But as far as Amex goes, trash. Avoid it with every fiber in your being.
Yep, do not do the 1-to-1 because you can buy them for less than a cent per piece, like when they're on sale. So don't do it. The next one is Wyndham. So Wyndham points potentially have good value if you're doing like the Vacasa vacation rental, partnership.
Well, they have that deval now, so I don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's still like, yeah. I think it now becomes more use case dependent. But even if even if that was a good value or whatever, Citi and Capital One transfer 1-to-1 to them. Probably still wouldn't do this because like even if you're getting multiple cents per point under redemption, just because like you can buy Wyndham points again on sale for less than a cent per piece. So it's not worth giving up those transferable currency points to other potential partners where it's impossible to buy them that cheaply.
Yeah, totally agree. When you can buy it that cheap, there's no reason to transfer it. Now, the final hotel one that's like really bad we want to talk about. Now, this is an interesting one. This is Accor. And Accor is not as popular of a chain that we talk about in this game because there's not really any aspirational redemptions in Accor. And what I mean by that is Accor points don't work like the other hotel currencies, where these other hotel currencies, while some of them might be dynamically priced, there is not a fixed cash to point rate where I could get a really high cents per point Marriott redemption. While maybe very, very difficult, it's theoretically possible. With Accor, it doesn't work that way. So 1 point is equal to 0.01 euro. So like 1 cent, but like in euros. So slightly better than 1 cent, right? Now, I think it's like 2. Sorry, let me correct myself. It's actually like 0.02 euros. And so you can transfer from Capital One at a ratio of 2-to-1. But because you're losing half your points, it's like effectively transferring at like slightly above 1 cent per point. Now, that is pretty bad. It's not the worst, but the reason I think it's pretty bad is because since Accor points are fixed to like cash value, you can't get an aspirational redemption. It's not like, okay, if I transfer to Marriott and average like 1 cent a point, maybe I could have a specific use case. There's no specific use case because if the hotel's cheaper on points, you could just go pay the cash rate at that point. It would also be discounted.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. So our general take is sadly, most of the hotel points loyalty programs are not worth transferring to. The main exceptions being World of Hyatt, which transfers 101 from Chase and Built. You can get massive cents per point often because they use an award chart rather than dynamic pricing. And then the other kind of obscure one that I think is sort of worth it is Leading Hotels of the World, which transfers from Citi thank you points at a ratio of 5-to-1. Now you might be like, oh, 5 Citi points for one of these points. That's probably not worth it. Actually, it's still much more worth it than all of these other ones we talked about because of how valuable like one leading hotel of the world point is worth. So go look into that if it intrigues you.
Definitely, yeah. So besides the hotels, airlines aren't safe either. While airlines across the board, there's good airline partners, a lot more good airline partners than hotel partners. There's some bad ones still. So domestically, Southwest is a pretty poor transfer partner, which you can transfer from Chase. You're getting like 1.3-ish cents per point, which isn't the worst, but it's not that good either, especially if we're trying to do airline redemptions and then you're stuck flying Southwest. I mean, And then also domestically, there's Delta, which is even worse somehow of a value. So that transfers from American Express. And you have to pay a tax when transferring, which is like absurd. And yeah, the value is like 1.2 cents per point, maybe. It could even be less. It's not good. And then JetBlue. I mean, JetBlue, I will say there is a use case for JetBlue now that they have the Qatar Airways partnership. So I have actually done some fairly high value redemptions with JetBlue points. Not transferred, but from the actual JetBlue cards themselves. But so you could make an argument to transfer to JetBlue, but unless you're booking on Qatar Airways, the value's pretty bad domestically. Like it's not good. You should transfer to a different partner. Qatar Airways, though, that is the one exception for JetBlue points.
Yeah, I think JetBlue is kind of sad to me because so they have like a really nice mint product, like the domestic business class product mint that I've always wanted to try. But somehow, like if you try to use JetBlue points for that, it's like even lower and worse cents per point than if you try to redeem for your economy stuff. So it just doesn't make sense. Delta, I think, has just committed to making their miles basically a fixed rebate cash value rather than giving people any opportunity to redeem for outsized value. So not worth it. Yeah, Southwest, I feel like if you're going to fly Southwest, you might as well pay cash and save your points for like a better redemption. I think the general trend right now I'm seeing is really hard to redeem points for domestic travel because airlines are now focused more on providing availability to people in the form of dynamic pricing. So for example, Southwest, like what's great is like any single flight that is available can be redeemed using points, but they can just charge a lot more points, right? Whereas the work chart programs that we like to focus on provide astronomical value, but you have to find the safer availability, which is much more difficult. So it's kind of this trade-off. The domestic programs have generally sort of now decided that people care about availability more than getting a good deal. But as like optimizers, it's not really what we're looking for. So that's kind of why we advise against transferring to these types of programs.
Totally agree. And even though domestic flight like redemptions aren't the best, international airlines aren't safe either. So we have some trash ones of those as well. So Aeromexico is not a good value. You can transfer those from Amex. I don't remember on the top of my head the other partners, mainly because it's a trash value. Aeromexico points, so Amex transfers at a rate of 1 to 1.6 Aeromexico point. Still not very good. It's part of SkyTeam. A lot of the SkyTeam airlines just don't have good redemption rates across the board, with the exception being Air France/KLM's Flying Blue. Another one is Emirates. Now, this is kind of a shame. I wish Emirates points were better because it would be really fun to redeem on Emirates business and first class because their business class on their A380 is very nice and all of their first classes are very, very nice. But unfortunately, Emirates just charges astronomically ridiculous amounts of points for their redemptions, especially for business. I mean, first, for a once-in-a-lifetime amazing flight, I could see the use case there for sure. But their business is just, it's a little expensive, and especially if you're stuck on their 777. I mean, it's a 232 layout now, which is absurd for an international business class. There's also Etihad, which is very expensive as well. I forget like the exact redemption rates, but a lot of currencies transfer to them, and it's just not good value. You're just not getting good value on their own flights. They used to have a very good award chart with American Airlines where you could get some pretty amazing value there. They scrapped that last year. Now it's trash again. And so those are not good. Are there any other ones, Sherwin?
Yeah, I think Emirates and Etihad are interesting because I think you can redeem for their flights using Aeroplan, and it's like generally better than using their own program. Though I do think Aeroplan charges an astronomical number of points for the Emirates first, so it probably still isn't worth it unless you just have like so many points that you can't burn them or something. But yeah, another pattern to understand is like oftentimes it makes more sense to transfer to like a different partner in the same alliance to redeem for a flight than to transfer to that airline itself. Like one of the biggest misconceptions is if I want to fly X airline, I got to transfer miles to that airline's mileage program. And that's just not necessarily true. You got to learn the alliances.
Absolutely. And yeah, just two more that are not very good are Singapore Airlines. This is an interesting one. So like, again, Singapore is similar to like Emirates. It has its use case. I'm not going to say it's something like IHG where there's literally no reason and under any circumstance to ever transfer to IHG. These airline partners, there can be circumstances which it makes sense. So like Singapore, it's got poor redemption rates. Pretty poor redemption rates. Like if I want to fly from like LA to Tokyo in premium economy, it's like 73,000 points, which is like how many points most programs charge for business one way. So not a good value. But you do have access to Singapore Airlines availability, which can be fairly decent. So for certain flights, like if I want to fly in Singapore suites, that could make sense. If I want to do one of those once in a lifetime first class redemptions, I don't even know of any other programs that like can actually, I don't even know if they even release partner availability for like first class. So it's pretty much like if that's how the way to redeem it is if you want to fly Singapore first. And then there's also Hawaiian, which across the board, Hawaiian's pretty garbage, except for a few sweet spots. So if you're flying like East Coast to Hawaii, the upgrade or the Saver Awards actually are very good value. From the West Coast, it could be moderate value. But like if you're not getting the base level Saver pricing, if anything beyond that, it's like pretty garbage value.
Thoughts on United as a transfer partner? I know they transfer 101 from Chase and Bill.
I forgot to include United in this list. Yeah, United's also trash. I mean, there's nice things about it in the sense like they don't have the cancellation fees. It's a Star Alliance airline, so it's fairly versatile. They do have, dynamic pricing and good availability on their own flights for like long haul international, but you're going to be paying a lot of points. So unless you're just swimming in Chase points, it's not something I would personally do. If you're utilizing the excursionist perk, I have heard that you can get some pretty decent value from it. But at that point, if you're willing to like over optimize the excursionist perk, I feel like you could just optimize the other partners as well. So I'm personally not interested in United. And I think the most painful part is because you have to transfer from Chase. And Chase, you could transfer to Hyatt, which is such a good value. If it was like Amex or something transferring to United, it might be a different story.
Yeah, I think that generally now they keep devaluing their miles. So the use cases become slimmer and slimmer because basically if you want to redeem for like a Star Alliance Saver flight, you're more likely to do better transferring to like Air Canada Aeroplan or ANA and getting a cheaper redemption, albeit with much larger cancellation fees, but still much lower redemption rates. So yeah, that's kind of my feel on United as well. But yeah, we'll see. So have you ever transferred to any of these partners, or are there other partners that you think are bad? Please leave a comment below if you have any thoughts. Also, if you enjoyed today's episode and want to support our channel, please consider subscribing. It's completely free. Also consider giving this video a like. If you're interested in earning more points that hopefully you'll transfer and use wisely, consider using one of the links in the description below to sign up. It greatly helps support our channel. And finally, Sean, why don't you plug our Discord?
So if you want to learn a ton from expert credit card enthusiasts and award travelers, and you want to talk with Sherwin and I in the chat, check out the 100% free Travel Lane Discord group at the link in the description or at the pinned comment down below. You will learn a ton, I promise you. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week.